What is up? Welcome back to Mind Your Hormones. Okay, we're gonna have a conversation about the tests that I recommend, when I recommend them, the tests I don't recommend, there's when you should take them, when you shouldn't take them, all the things with labs and stuff, because I know if you are someone who is preparing to get your body ready to start trying to conceive, or you're actively trying to conceive, or you are postpartum, and things are going on, you will just go get a blood test or whatever. But you either know that if you listen to this podcast for a little bit, you've probably heard me talk about it, but the blood work is just not giving you the answers that you actually want. Things are either coming back normal, or they're telling you, okay, you have low AMH, or you have low progesterone, or you have high TSH, but they're not telling you what to do about it. They're just saying, okay, let's just go on birth control, or let's just get an egg donor if you have low AMH, or whatever. They're not actually giving you the answers that you want, because especially with blood work, I'm not going to go down a whole rant on this because I've talked about it so many other times on the podcast, but when you're talking about getting hormone levels tested, blood work is not going to give you the picture that you actually need, because it is a snapshot in time. The levels that the ranges that they give you for normal are not optimal. If it's close to normal range on blood work, it's likely too low. If it is closer to the higher range, then maybe you're in your optimal levels, right? It's just not, if you're thinking about it from a functional medicine lens, the ranges that they give you for normal are just so subpar. It's just not optimal whatsoever. And especially when you're talking about feeling your best, preparing for pregnancy, rebalancing your hormones, we want things to be at optimal levels. And they also don't test things at the right timing. Certain hormones need to be tested at certain timing. So especially with blood work, so I just don't recommend it. So we're going to talk about what I do recommend, what I recommend taking when, all the things. Now I'm going to start with blood work actually. And the only things that I do recommend getting tested through blood work would be nutrient levels. So your vitamin D levels, your B12 levels, your iron, those are the things that you can get tested through blood. And I actually recommend getting those three tested always, because especially heading into pregnancy, but vitamin D should be between 50 and 60 on blood work. And a lot of people are not at that level. They're way lower. And not only is that going to impact your immune system, but it's also going to negatively impact your fertility, because vitamin D is actually a hormone in your body, right? It literally is responsible for thousands of functions that have to relate to your hormones. And if it is low, there's been so many studies that show a lot of people who struggle with fertility issues have low vitamin D. So you really want to make sure that you're getting enough of it. You should have vitamin D also in your prenatal. The prenatal I love obviously is needed, and they have about 4,000 IUs in there. So based off of your levels, based off of the amount of IUs that's in your prenatal or your multi, you have to dose it accordingly, right? So I like getting a liquid vitamin D3 so you could tailor it to the dose that you specifically need, because it also might change from season to season, from trimester to trimester. So I use the GutPersonal one. I'll put that in the show notes. If you're overseas and you can't get access to GutPersonal, look for another vitamin D3 plus K2 that has no other ridiculous ingredients in it. That's liquid, so you could tailor it appropriately. But anyway, definitely recommend getting that tested in blood work. Your ferritin and iron levels also in blood work, and your vitamin B12, any nutrients and stuff you'll be able to see in blood work. Now, the results of it, of saying it might show that you have a 30 or 40 level of vitamin D3, and that might say that it's normal, it's a good range, but it's not, right? I want it to be, again, 50 to 60, especially for your vitamin D3. But that's something that you can get tested in blood work, and that's pretty much the only things. Now, the other two functional tests that I recommend are stool tests and Dutch tests. Now, obviously, we'll talk about the ones that I specifically have used myself and recommend, but I'm really going to get into when to take which one, what to do first, when not to take it, because I don't just think everybody should just get a Dutch test whenever. I don't just think everybody should get a stool test whenever, right? They're specific for certain situations. So out of the two, stool test and Dutch test, I recommend getting a stool test first if you are someone who is specifically dealing with gut issues, because if you have gut issues, your hormone levels are going to be off, right? And getting a hormone test, getting the Dutch test first, it's showing all these hormone levels are off. It's well, in order for those hormones to then get balanced out, you're going to need to do some work on your gut. And in order to know exactly what's going on in your gut, especially if you've had so many gut issues, you need to do a stool test, right? So if you're someone who like, because a lot of people will too right away go to like a hormone test, right? Like, especially if you're trying to conceive, you've been trying for a while, you haven't been able to have success. It's like, okay, let me get a Dutch test, let me get a hormone test. And that's not always the right move. So if you are someone who has any type of gut issues, like, first of all, if you have gut issues, you pretty much probably know about it, right? Maybe you're constipated, and that means like you are not pooping every day. You really should be pooping at least twice a day in a nice banana shape. Like maybe you're pooping and it's like hard, it's like little balls, or you're pooping not within 2 hours of waking up. You should poop within the first 2 hours of waking up. You should again poop like another time throughout the day. If your poops are not consistent, if you're not pooping that much, and if they aren't in like a nice banana shape, if they're hard or if they're too soft and you're pooping too much, a lot of my clients will experience that, like diarrhea almost like all the time, or you have a lot of bloating or a lot of gas. Like one of my clients recently is like waking up like with a lot of gas in the middle of the night or after you eat something, heartburn, any type of like pain, obviously, in your stomach. And then also things that aren't really related to your poop, but like skin issues. If you have any like rashes or anything like that, that's always pointing back to the gut as well. If you have any issues like that and you're also trying to conceive, and maybe you also have like, if you have some of those issues, you might also have an irregular period or possibly painful periods, heavy periods, anything like that could also be related back to it. But if you know that you have had gut issues for a while and you're like, you've tried random, because I've struggled with my gut for years and years and years. It's always like the Achilles heel of my health, which is why I recently just did another gut personal stool test. I'm going to have my results on the show, so stay tuned. But like if you know if you have these issues going on, and if you have tried like other things, like I remember I've drank like aloe juice. I would drink like apple cider vinegar before meals and things like that, which are good. It's going to help your digestion, doing the digestive enzymes, taking your probiotic, like doing these things, yes, are going to help support your gut, and it can definitely improve your symptoms, right? All the things I teach you in the Mind Your Hormones method to help support your gut. Yes, it's going to improve it and it's going to get it to a better place. But in order to actually fully heal what is going on inside your gut and to know exactly what's causing it, you have to get a stool test. And unfortunately, the stool tests that you get at like your doctors, because I've done that in the past too, are just like a page of like stuff that's in there. And it's like, okay, everything's negative, but it's really not showing you a clear picture of everything that's going on because it's not looking at enough. So the stool test is going to let you know, okay, do you have candida, H. pylori, parasite, low digestive enzymes? Do you have too much good bacteria, not enough good bacteria, too much bad bacteria? Like it gives you such a comprehensive look at everything. And what's really amazing about functional testing is that not only do you get a clear picture of like, okay, this is exactly what's going on, but then they obviously tell you exactly what to do about it, which is so helpful. And you just do not get that from blood work and just any labs that you get from your endocrinologist, your fertility clinic, your doctor, whatever. They just like tell you, okay, this is it, and here's the medication for it, which like, you know, maybe even like H. pylori, if that's come up, if you got like a stool test from your doctor, they just give you medication for it, but that's actually making your gut worse, right? So it's so important. So anyway, so that's like what I would recommend, like stool test wise. And especially like if you are preparing for pregnancy, honestly, I would always will be doing this before heading into a pregnancy, because your gut microbiome turns into your baby's gut microbiome. So not only is it going to help you get pregnant, but it's also going to help you have a healthy baby. So that's like my number one recommendation. I also would recommend this for, especially if you're on birth control or any types of medications for a while. So you know your gut is up from it. You're on antibiotics for a while for anything. Like this is going to be extremely helpful. And or postpartum. Like I would say, I don't know the percentage, but a lot of people who are postpartum have like different gut issues that they never had prior to pregnancy. And that's very common. I have another episode on that too, so we can link that below. But those are the times I would actually recommend getting a stool test. And I would recommend doing that before doing a Dutch test, because again, you're going to have to heal whatever is going on in your gut to then balance your hormones. And you might not even need a Dutch test after that, because when you do heal your gut, your hormones are going to be working way better than they were prior to your gut being an issue. So the Dutch test after that might not even be needed, because everything will be working good and you're going to get the result you want. So the gut test is definitely my first one out of the two choices if you're experiencing gut issues. Now, if you're someone who like Some of my clients, like in the Mind Your Hormones method, they don't have gut issues anymore. Like they've gone through the Mind Your Hormones method for a few months, but there's still some things that are left over. Maybe they've been trying for a while to conceive, and there's still like, those leftover imbalances that we're like, okay, we've done so much that we can at this point with our diet, our lifestyle, with the basic supplementation. Now let's get a deeper look at what's actually going on with your hormones so we can then optimize from there. That's when I recommend doing the hormone test, right? So again, if you don't have any gut issues, then you could just jump straight to the hormone test, to the Dutch test, but I wouldn't recommend a Dutch test right away. I would recommend making strategic diet and lifestyle changes that are going to actually support your hormones first for at least 3 months before getting a Dutch test. Because what happens if you don't do that is you're going to get the Dutch test back, and there's going to be so many things that are off and out of balance, and you're going to feel really overwhelmed and like, oh my God, I have so many things to change. And it's going to feel super overwhelming. Whereas like some of my clients, one of them actually just who's in the accelerator, she got a Dutch test. She's been trying to conceive for like a little over a year. And she was like, I'm doing everything that I need to be doing in my nutrition, which is amazing. So now I just have to take a few of these additional supplements, help support her cortisol levels, her adrenals. She got things back, and it was like, okay, we see where her hormones are at. And because of the work that she's done with the Mind Your Hormones method, she is getting a regular period. She is doing these things, but her hormones are still not where it needs to be for her to get this healthy pregnancy that she wants to have. So now she needs to take some additional steps, but they're so minimal, but they're going to make a big difference. But they're so minimal because she's already put in the work to get herself at a really good place. So I really recommend going through the Mind Your Hormones method for at least 3 months, especially if you're a client listening to this. Go through the Mind Your Hormones method, full acid for a good 3 months before you even consider doing a Dutch test. That's truly my recommendation. And again, if you're working with somebody else or working with a functional registered like nutritionist or whoever, it doesn't have to be someone in the Mind Your Hormones method, but I just recommend really having that baseline of like, okay, we're working on the foundational pieces. You are knowing how to balance your blood sugar, you're supporting your gut, your nervous system, your liver, your detoxification pathways, like your nutrient density. You know exactly how to do all of that. We have healed most of the imbalances that you even had to begin with. Now, if we're still not pregnant or things are a little still off, okay, now let's get a Dutch test so we can really optimize from there. That is when I recommend taking the Dutch test. And this, again, definitely after being postpartum and or breastfeeding. So if you are someone that was breastfeeding and you are postpartum, I recommend taking it 3 months after you're done breastfeeding. So for example, I just finished breastfeeding in like middle of June. So I'm going to do it in middle of September, right? June, July, August, September. Yeah, middle of September, because your body needs like a calibration period, right? So like doing it right after you're done breastfeeding, things are still changing, things are still shifting, especially when you breastfed for so long. And if you are someone who maybe didn't breastfeed, but you obviously are postpartum, I would wait a good like maybe 6 months postpartum to maybe get it done if you're not breastfeeding, because there is, again, that calibration period. But I would definitely recommend doing it after being postpartum, breastfeeding before you want to maybe try for a second. But again, if you are postpartum and you are experiencing gut issues, I would do that first before moving to a Dutch test, which is something that I did, right? I just did the gut test. I'm going to work through all of that. And then if I need to, I'm going to then get a Dutch test. Sorry, did I say that wrong? I just did a gut test, a stool test. I'm going to work through all of that. And then if I need to, if I still feel like I want to see what's going on, which I just do because I'm postpartum, things have changed, whatever, then I'm going to get that Dutch test in like 3 months after I'm done breastfeeding. So like in mid-September, the time I'm recording this. So those are the times I recommend actually getting those tests. And those are the 2 functional tests I really recommend the most if you are thinking of getting it done. I always use GutPersonals if you are like, they do it overseas too, but it might be like crazy shipping or whatever. I'll put my code for that in the show notes too, for any of you who are interested in that. If you have another company you like, perfect, doesn't matter. But those are just the 2 that I love. And what I love about it too is you don't just get the results, you get a 60-minute consult with like a functional registered dietitian after, so that you can be explained, like they tell you, okay, this is what's going on, this is why this is going on, this is what to do about it, so you're not like left in the dust, which is really helpful. It is now not spoiler, but like caveat or whatever, this is an investment, right? This is an investment. But I know some of you are at that point, some of you are clients, some of you aren't, where you're just like, you're sick of trying to figure different things out. You've done all the things that you can in your diet and your lifestyle and your supplementation. And now you're just like, I need to take a deeper look, because there's only so far we can go without then taking a deeper look. You can get really far, and some people don't ever need a gut test or a Dutch test. I have many clients that never even needed it, and they feel amazing. They got the result they wanted, like everything is amazing. But there are some people that do, right? And that they need to take that extra step. And those are the times I actually recommend doing these things, and those are the times I don't recommend doing it. So I hope this clears things up for you and makes it a little easier for you to kind of decide what your next best step would be. And if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, like you maybe haven't even made strategic changes in your diet and your lifestyle and your supplementation, you're like, oh, I don't know. Like, start with the Mind Your Hormones method, obviously, so that you can get the foundational pieces set, so you can support the systems in your body that actually affect all of your hormones. And then once you've done that, you're like, okay, then I can see what next step needs to be. Or if you're listening to this and you're like, you have a lot of gut issues, your gut is jacked up, start with the stool test. Or if you're someone who's like, you're like, no, I've made a lot of changes, I've regulated my blood sugar, I've done all these things, like I'm feeling really good, but things still are just a little bit off, then you could do the Dutch test. So let me know if you have any questions about this, if anything came up from this, but I wanted to make sure that I had an episode about this on here, because I know it can seem overwhelming when you're like, okay, but I got this blood work done, I got this, and it's telling me nothing, or it's telling me everything's normal. And it's like, oh my God, like you would rather get a blood test done and tell you something's wrong than like feeling like things are wrong and then it coming back normal. Like, I'm just so honestly against blood work, because it just is such a waste of time, mental energy, capacity that like does not need to be a stress when you could actually get the deeper answers. And of course, like I said, it is obviously investment. It's not covered by insurance. They do take HSA, I think. I believe they do take that. Let me know what questions come up for you with this. I hope it was helpful for you to like kind of clear some stuff up and make sense in your brain of like, okay, when should I actually be taking this next step? What would be the next, option for me? I'll put all that in the show notes, the Mind Your Hormones method, the gut test, the Dutch test, all the things. And stay tuned for the episode where I'm going to get like my results done live again from my stool test, so we can find out together what's going on and what I got to do to heal it. I'm really excited. Thank you as always for being here. I appreciate you so much, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for being here. If you loved this episode and learned something valuable, please share it with a friend who you think would also love it, or post it on social media and tag me so I could personally say thank you for helping me spread this important message. I am beyond grateful to be here with you. So until next time, stay intentional, stay consistent, and always mind your hormones.